In January 2026, the entire Greater Toronto area sold just 85 new condo units. Not 850, not 8,500, 85 units. In a metro area of over 7 million people. That's the lowest number ever recorded in 45 years of tracking this data. And yet, if you drive down almost any major street in Toronto, Mississauga, or Vaughan right now, you'll still see cranes. You'll still see towers being wrapped in glass, buildings going up, construction crews on site. Projects that look from the outside like the GTA housing market is doing just fine. It's not. According to a CBC report published just this week, 2026 is being called the biggest, problematic year for pre-construction condo buyers in the city's history. Thousands of people who bought units years ago are now showing up to close, and discovering the condo they paid $700,000 for is now worth hundreds of thousands less. And their bank won't cover the gap. This is the story of what's actually happening on the ground in the GTA right now. What it means for people trying to buy, people trying to sell, and people who are just trying to figure out if they'll ever be able to afford a home in this city. Let's start with where we are right now. According to data from the Building Industry and Land Development Association, Build, and Altus Group, only 85 new condo units were sold across the GTA in January 2026. When you include all new home types, condos, townhomes, detached, the total was 269 units for the month. That's more than 80% below the 10-year average for January, lower than anything recorded during the early 1990s recession. Dan Eisner, the CEO of True North Mortgage, told Canadian Mortgage Professional this week, "I don't see a bottom yet." That's not a random opinion. The data backs it up. Look at what happened in 2025. New condo sales in the Greater Toronto and Hamilton area fell 60% from 2024. And 2024 was already terrible. By the end of 2025, sales were sitting 95% below the 2021 peak. In 2021, over 28,000 new condos were sold. In all of 2025, according to Urbanation, only about 1,600 sold. In December of last year, 2025, only 87 new condo units were sold. That was the lowest single month in 45 years of track data. Not the worst month of the cycle. The worst month ever. Meanwhile, the average condo price in the GTA has been falling for 3 straight years. By Q4 of 2025, the average resale condo was selling for $658,000, down from $694,000 a year earlier, and down nearly 23% from the peak back in 2022. For the people who bought in 2021 or 2022 at the height of the frenzy, that is not a paper loss. That is real money gone. So here's the question everyone asks when they see cranes in the Toronto skyline. If nobody is buying, why is construction still happening? The answer is timing, and it explains everything. Every building you see going up right now was sold years ago. Pre-construction condos in the GTA take 3 to 5 years from the time they're sold to the time they're actually finished and handed over. So the cranes you see in 2026 are completing deals that were signed in 2020, 2021, and 2022 when a market was on fire and investors were buying anything that wasn't nailed down. According to GTA Homes, over 29,000 condo units were completed in the GTA in 2025, the most in history. And an estimated 28,000 more are expected to complete in 2026. That is an enormous wave of brand new supply hitting a market with almost no buyers. But here's where this gets complicated. Because while all of that old inventory is finishing up right now, the new pipeline behind it is nearly empty. Condo starts, meaning projects just beginning construction, have fallen nearly 90% over the last 3 years. Only 10 new condo projects were launched across the entire GTA in 2025, and 28 active projects totaling over 7,200 units were canceled outright, the most project cancellations ever recorded in a single year. According to GTA Homes data, condo completions are projected to fall to 22,000 units in 2026, then 14,000 in 2027, and by 2029, virtually nothing. So the cranes you see today are finishing yesterday's pipeline. The pipeline for tomorrow, is basically gone. If you want to keep following what's actually happening in the Canadian housing market, with real numbers and no fluff, hit subscribe. We break this stuff down every week now. Let's get into the part that is hitting real people the hardest right now. This is the part of the story that hasn't gotten enough attention. Right now in 2026, thousands of people across the GTA are walking into a situation that nobody warned them about when they signed their contracts 3 or 4 years ago. CBC News published a report just this week, February 24th, 2026, following buyers who are now trying to close on pre-construction condos they purchased in 2021 and 2022. One buyer, Vitor Almeida, bought a unit expecting to close and either rent it out or resell. When his building registered, the bank sent an appraiser. The appraised value came back far below what he paid. Now he either has to come up with tens of thousands of dollars in cash to cover the gap, or risk losing his deposit entirely. And on top of that, the developer has told him they will sell the unit for less and come after him for the difference. This is happening across the GTA right now. Reports from major lenders and mortgage brokerages show appraisal shortfalls ranging from 10 to 30% below the original purchase price on pre-construction units, closing in 2025 and 2026. That means if you bought a $700,000 condo in 2021, your bank might only value it at $490,000 to $630,000 today, and you're responsible for covering that gap in cash at closing, whether you have it or not. And according to Urbanation data, roughly 10% of all pre-sold condos that registered in 2025 failed to close entirely. Those units went back to the developer or the lender and hit the resale market as brand new product, competing directly with everything else on the market and pulling prices down even further. Some buyers tried to escape through assignment, essentially selling their contract to someone else before closing. But real estate lawyer Gathia Minoran told CBC that out of all the clients she's seen try this, only one buyer successfully completed an assignment. Builders can block the process. They can charge fees ranging from hundreds to tens of thousands of dollars just to approve it. For most people in this situation, there is no easy exit. This situation plays out very differently depending on who you are. If you bought a pre-construction condo between 2020 and 2022 and you're closing in 2026, this is the most important year of your financial life right now. You need to know your exact appraised value before you get to the closing table. Talk to a real estate lawyer. Understand your options before you're in the room and out of time. If you own a condo in the resale market, prices are down roughly 25% from the 2022 peak, and they haven't found a floor yet. TD Economics says a recovery is coming, but it'll be gradual. The analysts who expected a rebound in late 2025 were wrong. Most of them have pushed their recovery timeline into 2026 and beyond. If you're a renter, you are actually in one of the better positions you've been in for years. Record numbers of completed units are flooding the rental market right now. Vacancy rates are rising. Landlords who are losing money every month on these units are far more willing to negotiate on rent or offer incentives. You have options and you have leverage. And if you're a first-time buyer who has been waiting on the sidelines, this is genuinely complex. Prices are lower than they were in 2022. There's more to choose from. The 10-year average for January new home sales is 575 units. This year came in at 269. You are in a buyer's market by every definition, but affordability is still stretched. New single-family homes are benchmarked at over $1.3 million right now. New condos are still hovering around $1 million in many parts of the city. The Bank of Canada has cut rates, but the gap between what people can afford and what things cost is still significant. What has changed this equation, according to analysts, is what happens after 2026. When you have almost no new condo starts for 3 years straight, the supply that's flooding the market today will eventually get absorbed. And when that happens with nothing behind it in the pipeline, 2027, 2028, 2029, prices don't stay soft. They go the other direction. Here's where this all lands. In January 2026, 85 new condos sold in the GTA. In January of a typical year, it should be closer to 2,000. Thousands of buyers are heading to closings this year with units worth less than they paid and banks that won't fill the gap. Developers canceled a record 28 projects last year. Construction starts are at a 20-year low. And yet buildings are still going up because the work was locked in years ago, and you can't just flip a switch and stop. This is a market caught between two realities. Too much supply finishing right now, and almost nothing being built for the years after. The people getting squeezed the hardest aren't faceless investors. They're regular people who believed in the market, signed a contract in good faith, and are now sitting across from a banker being told the math doesn't work. No one expected it to get this bad, this fast. And right now, nobody's quite sure when it stops. Everyone is watching what happens next.